Hi everybody, it's Chef Martin in the ThermoWorks demo kitchen, and today we're cooking beef tenderloin. Now, beef tenderloin is a great cut of meat for a festive occasion like the holidays, but it's also one you want to be very careful with. It's expensive, you want to get it right, but with the right tools and a little know-how, it's easy. So we're going to walk you through that here today to make sure that you know how. For our beef tenderloin, because we want to get it just right, we're going to be doing a two-stage cook. Now, whether you're cooking this on the smoker and then searing it on the grill, or cooking it in your oven and then searing it in a hot pan, it doesn't matter. The thermal principles are the same. So we're going to start by doing a low heat cook, about 225 degrees, until the meat is mostly cooked, then we're going to sear it. To prepare the tenderloin for cooking, we're first going to need to tie it. As you can see, the tenderloin kind of sags and droops. This part here and this part here are more likely to get overcooked. So we're going to tie it into a nice circle so that it cooks evenly. First, we're going to start by tying just a simple knot, a square knot at one end that we can cinch down on the meat. Then we'll make loops that go around the beef like so. You want to tie it about every inch to 2 inches. To make a loop, take the free end of your string, tuck it underneath the connected end of your string, and then just run that circle around your beef. Pull on the free end and cinch it down like so. Then we'll turn it over, go along, and we'll tuck this back in to our first string. There we have it. A nice, evenly shaped loin ready for roasting. Now that our roast is tied, we need to season it. Now you can use whatever you want, but we really like kosher salt and freshly ground black pepper. That's it. You have to salt these fairly generously. You have to season them fairly generously. Now, I'm using diamond crystal salt here, which is easier to see on the surface of the meat, but is actually not that salty for how much you see there. So it's a good way to tell that we've seasoned the whole thing. Then freshly ground black pepper. And it's almost literally impossible to put too much pepper on this, so go for it. There we go. Beautifully seasoned, nice and flavorful. When we probe our tenderloin, we want the thermal sensor of the probe to be right in the very center of the meat. So we're going to take a probe, measure halfway down the length of the meat, mark that with our fingers here at the edge, and then just go right bullseye down the center of the meat with the probe. There we have it. Now, if you have a really long tenderloin, you want to come in from the top and just angle down into the meat because you can't make it all the way from one end. Now that we have a probe in the meat, it's ready to cook. We've got our oven preheated to 225, and we'll cook this until it reaches 127 degrees internal temperature. Now, we're using an alarm thermometer for this because we don't want to just trust that to chance. We're going to use an alarm thermometer like the chef alarm, and then we'll be verifying that temperature with the ThermoPen 1. A small piece of meat like this, we're not looking at very much carryover cooking, will probably land right at about 130, which is a perfect medium rare. All right, our chef alarm has gone off. That's 127 degrees. Let's verify that with our ThermoPen 1. And that looks good. We're good to go. Let's take it out. Now that our meat's out of the oven, we need to let it rest for just a couple minutes before we put it in the hot pan to sear. Doing so will keep us from getting a gray band inside the meat. Now we have our tenderloin and it's properly cooked, but you can see it's not very attractive. There's no nice crust on it. It's just peppery beef. We're going to sear this in a cast iron skillet, and that's one of the reasons we like cutting it up into thirds. A whole tenderloin won't fit in a cast iron pan. The string can be difficult to remove because it has kind of cooked in a little bit, so use a sharp knife or some good scissors, and just be careful of your fingers. To get a proper sear, we need our pan to be at least 350, but preferably 400, 425 degrees. We'll use an IR thermometer to check that. Just a little bit of oil in the pan will help our meat make better contact and get a better sear, and the oil helps us get a better reading with the IR gun. All right, our pan is reading 390 to 400 degrees right over here, so I'm going to put the tenderloin in right there. We're going to turn this about every 30 to 40 seconds, but we're also going to add a whole bunch of butter to this pan in just a second, and we'll be basting it with butter and herbs and all sorts of good stuff, and we're going to get a lovely crust on there. Two, three, 4 tablespoons of butter, some fresh rosemary, some fresh thyme, oh, that smells amazing, just amazing. Now, you could do this under broiler, but we really love the crust that we get when we do the butter baste like this in the cast iron skillet. It's just a really lovely crust. There we go, that is done. So we've cooked this one in the oven and then a cast iron pan, but if you're doing this on a smoker, you can finish it on the grill. It doesn't matter where you're cooking it. Thermometry is still important. 127 degrees for your pull temp, and then sear it hard over high heat, and you're always gonna end up with perfect results. We're gonna let this rest for just a couple more minutes before we slice into it, but you can see how beautiful it is already. And a wonderful piece of meat like this, an expensive tenderloin, it needs this kind of care to end up the best way that it can. And with a good thermometer like ThermoPen 1, Chef Alarm, you can get perfect results from this meat every time.